And here we go with episode 2 of the Mike Spot podcast. I'm Chris, senior producer and lead designer of 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Josh, quality assurance and associate designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling. Let's get right into player questions this week, Chris. We're pulling these directly from the comment section of episode 1 on YouTube. Remember, if you've got a question or some feedback and would like a chance of being mentioned on a future episode, comment below.
Yeah, let me just say that response to the first episode was great. Tons of great questions and comments. Now, we're not going to be able to get to every single one of them, and that's mostly just in the interest of keeping these episodes kind of short. But let's get right into it right now. I'm going to go ahead and start with our boy Revin. And that, of course, is Revin the Legend, the awesome YouTuber who has been streaming our games for a while. He has great content. Go check him out. He says, yeah, boy, lovely work here, gents. Going to be awesome to get pods on top of the monthly updates. He did give us a little bit of feedback on the audio quality of episode 1, and we totally agree. Like, look, if we're going to call ourselves the Mike Spot podcast, then we need better mics, right? So anyway, Josh stepped it up. He improved his audio game here. I think we're both sounding a little bit better in episode 2.
Another question from @RedMageJack. Would you ever consider putting additional slots on existing teams that don't have 6 members? For example, Blue Steel, Satin Jackets, etc. Also, I'd love to know your thought process for when you decide how a wrestler needs a rework. A multi-tiered answer there for your multi-tiered question. The first one is no. If there are any undermanned factions, say Cell Block G or Blue Steel, they'll eventually be filled with official released characters. In fact, with this month, with Bronx, one of his alts is joining Cell Block G. Little tip for you there. So going off of your rework question, though, the reworks is mix of more of like, say there's art that we maybe think is a little outdated or that we want to spruce up a little bit. It's that, but also mixing in together if there's something missing from real life or a wrestler has like a new kind of popularity emerge. We like to maybe use a rework to maybe hint at that a little bit. So
right on. So we're moving on here. We've got @SoullessMin. And he says 666 views as I watch this creepy. Yeah, I think Slashmaster just opened his eyes and he sat up somewhere. No, really though. Thanks for playing and supporting us for years.
Next comment from @JAR15. All right. I'll say this. 80s Mania be awesome. Continue to grow it because it's a really cool concept. I played it for years. Love to get my old account back, but I can't figure out how. I saw this comment, and I saw that there were some responses to it. Contact support, and we can help you out. If you move from devices, say you were on an old phone, you moved to a new phone. If you were on a Samsung, you moved to an iPhone, we can still carry that game over. Okay, so as long as you're signed into either the Google Play Store or the Game Center on Apple, your data is safe. If you're not connected to those, it only saves to your actual device, which it works, but if you change devices, it won't work anymore. So when in doubt, just email us at support, and every episode, our girl at the end, she'll give you those email addresses for support if you listen to the end of the episode.
From Saint Sumo 1, this was spectacular. I've not realized how much I wanted this connection. Feels nice to see a game get so much love and respect from the community and creators. Can't wait to see what y'all got in store. Just thanks to you, Saint. Really had a fun time recording the first episode, putting together, the graphic that we show on the YouTube channel, figuring out how to do the intro and the outro and all sorts of stuff that went into the production of it. It was a ton of fun. Then being able to publish it and to see the response was super encouraging. So thanks to guys like Saint Sumo and everyone else who's commenting and supporting. We're super encouraged. So away we go.
For sure. Away we go to the next question. @Matthew Garnier 7701. I made a great faction idea with Cadaver, Dizzy Licks, and Jenny Dreadful. They've been dominating my roster with all the wins, all the championships. What a great team up. I love it. Thanks, Matthew, for that one. Thanks for the comment.
David O'Hanlon 166 says, great show. Can't wait for more. And mentions something super cool. Says that 80s Mania is one of the few things me and my son can bond over. I just want to say that's one of the coolest things ever. We talked about it being encouraged. That's the ultimate, right? To hear just the enjoyment and like bonding with friends and family members and stuff. We appreciate hearing it. We appreciate you guys for the support. Definitely tell your son we said hello. He does say, too, something about factions, that we'd love to get new faction names in both games, especially ones inspired by different wrestlers and managers, like the way Reptile House and Gargoyle Gang are. And yeah, totally agree there, right? There's room for us to add more of those custom faction names, and completely agree that using existing characters, kind of spinning off their names or gimmicks into some custom faction names, is a relatively easy thing for us to do. So yeah, we'll definitely have a look into that and try to get that one out there soon.
Yeah, definitely. My favorite's the Think Tank. You gotta love when they have those tie-ins. Next question at Squeaky Cat Daily 6182. They say, I love this game. Thanks, Squeak. Glad to have you here. Similar along those lines, we have at Chalk Body Outline. I'd be down to chop it up with you guys. I love the game and have lots of questions about it. Feel free to ask them down in the comments below, Chalk Body Outline. Good to see you.
All right, let's move on to Jordasat. I think I'm saying that right. Also for 80s Mania, will we get the option for new titles, like a women tag team title for 80s Mania? When the question is, can we or will we? It's most of the time, yes, it's a matter of time when. So we'll say this, right? This is going to be one of those all-encompassing answers. As it relates to new titles, yes. When exactly that'll happen, we're not sure. But I'll drop this little hint in here. It's just a matter of time before 80s Mania gets, let's just call it a bump.
For sure.
I won't say if it's a little bump or a big bump, but let's just say it's a matter of time.
I like it. A little mystery there from Chris. Next question at Antoine Marie Jean 8927. Nice first episode. Love the look at the updates. Especially appreciated the second Fed stuff you spoke about. Yeah, the second Fed has been it's one of the biggest features I think that we dropped this past year. But they mentioned that the crossover match brings a whole new side to things. Absolutely. So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I don't believe it was asked in the comment section of our last episode, but it definitely was asked on social media, and it's in regards to Turducken. So Turducken is the sort of comedic character we released in November around Thanksgiving, and the question that we see a lot is, what happened to him? He suddenly disappeared from the shop rotation, and that is true, actually. We did remove him after a few months because we do want to experiment a little bit with the concept of a limited edition card. And Turducken is the first one where, let's just say he's seasonal. So he'll return. He's not around now, but when the time is right, when the time of the year is right, he'll be back in the shop. So if you didn't get a chance to purchase him, keep your eyes peeled later in 2024 for his big return.
And that's it for questions, guys. Remember, if you have a question, just leave it below. We will absolutely get to it, or try to at least. With that said, let's transition right into Modern Mania. We had a new character drop.
Benito Bronx.
Repping his hometown pride. Just really excited to have another upper mid-card guy in there to kind of fight against those main eventers, but also has some stretch that you can use across the card, right? He can be a mid-carder, he can be a main eventer, you can do whatever you kind of want with him. Someone that you can watch grow through your promotion. And also something that we do there is we were able to put him into one of those existing factions. I mentioned it earlier in the questions. One of those alts is perfect for Cell Block G, and someone that can work in these hardcore situations as well. So really a nice versatile character.
Right on. Also included in the recent update is a feature that we've wanted to introduce for quite some time, and we finally, took the plunge with the reroll. Let's talk a little bit about that, Josh. As we know, while playing this game, there are ways to manipulate who wins, who loses. That being with adjusting the push stat, acquiring push bonus cards, putting a partner at ringside, these kind of ways to manipulate the results. But of course, as we know, there is RNG. That's random number generation involved. That's essentially like saying digital dice are being rolled in the background, right? Determining the outcome of the match. And, numbers can be tricky. And if you've ever rolled a pair of dice in your life, that, sometimes you roll snake eyes and sometimes stuff happens that's a little bit out of your control, right? So we wanted to allow players the ability to re-roll a result. And What we actually also wanted to do is explore a little bit how to integrate ads into our game that were non-intrusive. As we know, at the end of the day, this is a business, so we need to figure out ways to generate revenue without kind of burdening down the game or making players sit through, these intrusive type of ads. So through a lot of thought and through some design, we came up with this feature to give you the opportunity to re-roll a result, get a higher star, or get a different wrestler winning the match, and at the same time, integrate ads and the revenue they do generate for our game.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really great feature to kind of enhance that player experience, that booking experience, Also, I wanted to mention like how cool the animation is for the reroll. It's just great.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of the way that came out.
Yeah, another big thing that we added in on Modern is the new pay-per-view names. We added them for 80s last month, and huge hit. Adds so much versatility to kind of your booking experience, and it makes it to where two feds really feel like they're two feds and not just one fed extended. So great feedback on that one. It was just a really nice addition to those games, and I think that it makes the second fed experience a lot better.
As a matter of fact, because Modern is on an engine in which the actual simulation, the animation of watching the matches play out is a little bit more evolved, advanced, you do not only get this whole list of new pay-per-view names and logos to select from, but when you actually play these shows out, you're going to get that unique visual of, the logo in the background or on the wrestling ring. You're going to see the colors associated with it, be displayed, from the canvas color to the ropes. So there's a little more visual pop bringing these second pay-per-view logos into Modern.
Totally, yeah. With that said, we're going to take a short break and then get back into it with some 80s Mania.
Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Sting, Lex Luger, the Road Warriors, the superstars of professional wrestling will gather in the most spectacular wrestling event in history. Clash of the Champions. 5 title matches, including the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Clash of the Champions. Superstation TBS presents Clash of the Champions, live and free of charge. 4 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, March 27th.
And we are back. Let's talk a little bit about the 80s Mania update for February of 2024. We brought in Hal Sand. Big hit. Our promo on Hal, people seem to really love. I think the look of the character, the parody that we were able to pull off with this one. I think everyone loved the joke about, him holding his piece of driftwood, affectionately named Wood. Everybody wants it, has it, the deal. Of
course.
When we want to add a new character, what's usually done is we try to kind of look at the landscape of the game in terms of the characters. So in the case of Hal, we could use, maybe a character with a little extra comedic flair and maybe one that's more in the middle of the card than at the top of the card and so on. So that's kind of, we kind of use that as our guiding light. And then once we realize what sort of role we want to fill, that's when we start looking at our list of, stuff to parody. We talk about pop culture stuff we haven't touched upon that would be fun. We look at, particular real life influences that are missing from the game. That's when the creative team really shines. That's when we kind of come together and discuss all these ideas. And from the factory this month came Hal Sand. And yeah, what a fun one. And seems like people really are enjoying him. So.
Yeah, same here. I love Hal. I think he's one of my favorite ones that we've dropped since I came aboard. So really, really great addition to 80s, I think. And I think that he'll have a lot of synergy with some really cool pairings and create some really cool matchups for sure.
Absolutely.
So another thing we wanted to talk about this episode is our annual social media tournament coming up. Just a few more days, called March Mania. We've done it for the past few years. Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about those past years and for the players who might not know?
We take characters from our games, 80s Mania and Modern Mania. So we run 2 separate tournaments online, one for each game. Generally, the tournaments are themed. So, like, for example, the first one we did, was 80s. Then we followed up with a 90s only. And then I think maybe we might have done a tag tournament. And then when Modern came in, we started doing Modern. And really what it is, it's based on player voting. Okay, so we reveal the brackets. Like we'll plug in your typical tournament brackets with characters from our games. And we'll put that out there on social media. And then our players just, match by match vote for who they'd like to see win. We tally up the results. We and progress the tournament round by round until there's a winner. And the cool hook here is whatever character is voted to win that tournament will inspire a new character or characters to come into the game. And like you mentioned, we've got a history of doing that. So you want to talk about some of those, previous themes and winners and new wrestlers that came out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one, the inaugural one, Arizona Chance was the winner, right? So because of that, Chance Solar was added to the game. A great alt. Further years have kind of been along those lines, resulted in some rivals coming out. I'm thinking of the Neon Express when they won. We get the fantastic French Berets out of that one, like that 2-star feud, a huge addition to the game. And then same thing with Modern. We have the hardcore tournament that gave us Magnifico and Magnifico Junior actually. So there's just a whole lot of options. It could be, I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so the big question, again, at this time of year is what are the themes going to be? Like, we're definitely going to run the tournament on social media for both games, and we do like to pick a theme just because the rosters are so huge, and we like to have a little bit of a direction. This year,
our theme is going to be that it's going to be a cruiserweight tournament.
Always a blast. People are always kind of, amped up to vote and either express joy or disappointment based on the results. But it's always really cool to see, too, sort of like it gauges popularity. Like for us as developers, it's always cool to see cult hero type characters. I remember, I think it was last year's tournament, actually, Buck Bronco doing really well and Hito Kizuato doing really well. And it just gave us the opportunity to look at those guys and go, okay, that's interesting. They're probably not going to win this whole tournament, but we ought to just pay attention a little bit to those characters because, people seem to like them. And actually that thought process resulted in the Banso Buck alt and
Mr. Hollow too.
And Mr. Hollow, that's right, which is a feud for Hito. So anyway, the point is the tournament is not only fun, but it really does generate new characters that people seem to want. So I think we can go ahead and talk about our shout out. Every episode, we want to try to recognize, a member of the player community who is outstanding. One of the earliest kind of areas where people would congregate to discuss the game was on pro boards. So there's an 80s Mania Wrestling Pro Board. If you want to Google that, I'm sure you can find it. You can join it. There's some great conversations there. Some longtime players there. And one particular player who's been there from the beginning named Dino. That's D-Y-N-O. And, in some other areas, he might have a different screen name, but I know him as Dino on the Pro Boards. And a special thing about Dino is he really was the person who got the wiki for both games up off the ground.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, he's the primary sort of manager on it. So when there's new content, he's the one updating it. I know he has some help, or he's had some help over the years, but I think he's kind of like the primary guy who set everything up and structured that and, goes back and sort of tinkers with it and updates it as we release new characters that associate it with old characters, like new tag teams are formed and new feuds are formed. Dino will go back in there and adjust things accordingly. And I don't know that if there's a better resource out there for our players than the wiki pages for both games. I mean, hey, look, spoilers abound. If you really want to go in there and read every single character and every single tag team and feud, you're going to get spoiled to death. But if that kind of thing doesn't bother you and you just need that encyclopedia style reference point, you got to check out the wiki for both games. It's where we direct play. When players contact us and say, hey, I can't figure out this tag team or feud for the life of me, that's kind of where we say, check out the wiki if you really need to know right away. So special shout out to Dino. Special thanks for all that time and effort and energy spent creating this thing, keeping it up to date. Shout out to Dino, and we will, in the comment section, go ahead and link to the wiki for 80s and the wiki for modern for those who haven't seen it or can't find it. We got you.
Great idea. Yeah, thanks, Dino. I can't tell you how many times I've gone on that wiki, so I don't know what I'd do without you, so appreciate your help. and appreciate you just constantly being a fan and taking care of the community. I love it.
Absolutely. I think that's it for today, Josh. We want to remind everybody, like we said at the beginning of this episode, if you want to be a part of future episodes, go ahead and comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That kind of keeps all this stuff going. And as always,
if you're down for more mic spots,
stay tuned.
Are you a fan of Checkmate creative content? The most impactful way to show your support is by leaving our games 5-star ratings on Google Play and the App Store. That ensures we keep making more of the content you love and games you want to play. Following both 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling on Instagram, X, and Facebook is the best way to stay up to date with our latest news and character reveals. We invite you to share any and all feedback about your playing experience directly with us at support@80smaniawrestling.com or support@modernmaniawrestling.com.
This has been a Checkmate Creative production.